But where did you go? Where did you go?
What do you mean? Where did I
Okay.
go?
The tab. Where did the tab go? I can't find. Okay, I found you.
We're still around. Didn't go anywhere.
I found you. Okay. Welcome to Slow and Steady, the podcast where you get to follow along as we build products in public. Each episode gives you an honest peek into our lives as we share our struggles, our wins, and everything in between. I'm Benedicta, and I'm feeling energized.
And I'm Benedict. Today is December 17th. This is episode number 214. And I'm feeling calm.
Feeling calm
Yeah.
before
Calm before the
Christmas.
storm.
Yeah, or
No,
calm
like,
before.
well, like calm because everything's starting to slow down, calm down. Um, Leo, our front-end developer, is off on vacation since Monday, and I think everyone else on the team is around for this week. But then next week, most of the team are gone, and then Christmas, New Year's. It's always like kind of a slow time. And things are
Are
like
you
calming
seeing?
down.
Do you see like a slowdown in support tickets? Because I've been logging in every morning for my outside of support session. And it's like crickets. And I said that in our Slack channel, and Jeff was like, "Do not say it."
um, I don't think support is super slow. Like it's still like some tickets from time to time. What we noticed though, like over November and even a little bit of December is like that, like just like overall trial volume and stuff like that is down quite a bit. But we've talked to friends and other companies, and it seems to be a general thing. Like we heard from more people that their Novembers were unusually slow,
Hmm,
um, and we're not quite sure why. I
I'll have
kind
to
of
go look at.
wanted to blame it on the elections and
Mm.
Thanksgiving and all of that, but who knows, right? Let's see how the next
And
couple of
maybe
months
it's
go.
just been slower. I didn't look at the numbers overall. Maybe I should go look at the numbers overall because I don't feel like it's been. I don't think it's been slowing down in terms of like signups and stuff. But but anyway, less support for me, which is fun that I can do fan stuff. But yeah, and for Atsera, which is really what is really cool is that web or it's not cool for like these customers, but it's cool for Atsera is that Webflow has announced that they are gonna be cutting their membership feature. So they had like an e-commerce and like an e-commerce feature set, and on top of that, they had like this little like membership feature thing.
Mhm.
And I think what is happening is that they're cutting their whole e-commerce solution. I haven't looked because I'm not like really the Webflow expert in Tsera. That is James, our designer and Webflow expert. But I think I'll have to like dig into Webflow more because we are hoping at least to see an influx of people uh, wanting to shift from the the Webflow membership
Mhm.
solution to the Atsera membership or membership operating system. I think we're calling ourselves now, and then just making some really. I want to make some more like complex demos because we see a lot of people want to make like dashboards, so they want to connect to another database. And I've been talking about this before. I've been working on integrating Atsera with Seno, and
Mhm.
I was hoping this was gonna go fine.
Take your time.
Okay, I'm back. Working on the integration with Seno, and that could really work for people because it seems like there's a lot of agencies that kind of want to make client portals. So they log in with Atsera, they land
Mhm.
on the Webflow page, and then on that Webflow page, they want to pull data from a database so they can like have more specific data for that customer. And now that I have the Atsera Seno script in place, that could be just be added to any Webflow site, and then I'll need to dig into how they usually do those kinds of integrations with like pulling data from a backend. I've seen like a lot of people do it. It's not something that Webflow really supports. I think it's mostly grabbing data and then like pushing it into a div with an ID.
Hmm.
Like you tell the customer to like, who's going to use your script. You say like create a div with this ID, and then kind of the script takes over that ID and like pushes data into that. So something like that. I'll have to look into that more and work more closely with James, our as I mentioned, our designer and Webflow expert, so he can do more of like the building of the site and the design, and then I can come in and like do these more like code heavy features.
Right.
So we can like snag those Webflow
Is there a
folks.
deadline? Like when are they shutting this down?
So they're giving them 12 months. So we've been back and
Oh, okay.
forth with Webflow. So initially, I think it was supposed to be a lot shorter. So we were kind of scrambling a little bit to make sure that we had things ready for the announcement. But now we're seeing that, it's the end of the year. People aren't scrambling to like move their site over when they have 12 months. I think even a 6-month kind of deadline people would have like felt like they had to scramble more. But as I said on call with that Sarah yesterday, like a year, that's infinity, like in people's mind. It's like
yeah,
they
will
said,
scramble like this time next year they will be like,
they
what?
will
Like, I need to
absolutely
figure this out.
scramble. And hopefully we've had some like really good migrations before that with people who are a little better at like planning
Right.
ahead and stuff like
Yeah.
that, so that we have our systems dialed in and maybe even like some really good demos from those earlier migrations, so we can see what people really need and then create the templates and stuff like that. So we can migrate everyone over. So they'll have to do some exports from Stripe, and then we have this like migration tool, and we can also do it like white glove. It's not what we call it, where like we do it for you, or you could do it yourself. So there are some things that need to be exported from Stripe and then imported again, because you can't just like move things over from like one integration thing to an, I don't know. There's something with Stripe where this is not possible. So, but it's but we can do that all for the Webflow folks. But yeah, there's also like a lot of people are pissed. So I think also people need to be pissed first, then look for solutions, and then have time to migrate.
Yeah. I mean, it always sucks when features get cut, but I guess it kind of makes sense, right? Like if it didn't work out for them, or if they feel like this is like not working well enough for them to support it, I actually have huge respect for them like making that decision and letting people, well, giving them grace period of like a year, and then like hopefully giving people a better solution by moving them to a dedicated product for this. At least I hope that's what's happening.
Yeah, I think so. And we've already had like early inclinations, because we haven't seen people like actually making the step to migrate yet, because this announcement came like last week. But there are a lot of people reaching out and like asking questions, and a lot of people being surprised at like how fully featured, like you get like a more full product from Outseta. So you can, you get your email and your help desk and everything connected to just selling the membership. So a lot of people are surprised, but it's going to be, I don't know exactly what the prices were in like Webflow, but obviously they're going to be pissed. It's a substantial feature. It's not like, oh, we're like cutting this like tiny thing. It's like we're cutting payments, which is like a substantial feature. So people are going to be pissed. But I do think, as you say, that when they explore Outseta and the other alternatives, they'll find something that fits them even better. And then that's focused on exactly that. And it's not just like adding it on top of a site builder. So yeah. So I think they're going to be focusing, Webflow are going to be focusing much more on like the design aspect and like building out the design and the pages, and like doubling down on that again, which was their like original value prop, I think. Probably like indirect, probably a little bit because Framer came on the scene and they only focus on like the design experience, and they have a very like fresh take on the design experience, and lots of like motion and animation and like this like very like fresh way of, I mean, you can see if a page has been made in Framer by this point. Like all of these site builders and frameworks have their like aura that you can, if you've been around the web enough, you'll like land on something, you're like, oh, Tailwind, oh, Framer. It's like,
yeah
it's got that like like a little like smell of whatever framework you've used. But anyway, so I think that Webflow kind of were like, oh God, we need to step up on the design side of things again. And I think they bought GSAP so that they can compete with Framer Motion, which is Framer's kind of animation library. So things are heating up.
Yeah.
I'll just stay on the
Interesting.
sidelines and make like the
And
boring
make membership
features.
scripts for both.
Yes, exactly. And like making them more, because the people who use these tools are, because they're like, most of them are designers and they really like enjoy making all of like the splash and the colors and the like things. And I've noticed more and more, like, I'm not that, like, I just want the feature to work.
Right.
So I can help them implement like the more like utility things, like actually pulling data from Sano onto the site and then not having to be responsible for if they're sliding in or like fading in or jumping up, or I don't know. I just want like super simple websites as a point that just lets me do exactly what I need without that much swoosh.
Yeah, for sure.
That's just an old lady in
Make
me.
it work fair, make it work first, and then maybe make it nice animated. But yeah,
I mean, I get animation fatigue.
yeah.
Whereas like I'm scrolling a page and I'm like, I just want to see the text. Like, just give me the text. I don't want to see it fade in. I want to see my keywords. I can scroll past it because it's probably not what I need.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like if you notice the animation, it's probably too much, right?
Yeah, but everyone has to go through their circle of wow, cool, to like, okay, just give me the bare minimum.
For sure. Yeah. What else has been going on?
I did today, just for funsies, after being sick, as you can hear, I've been sick for a week. So I'm not sick anymore. I just cough. But I was like actually on the couch under the duvet for a full week. And I kind of came out of that haze this weekend and felt like super refreshed, actually, and super like excited. And one of the things I did today, I just wanted to do something fun, was to create recreate my Gatsby Let It Snow plugin. So I had a plugin that you could put on your Gatsby site and it would add snow to your site, because that is what you need in your life. Like animations. I was just like, don't give me animations. And then I'm like, but give me snow. So I made it into a platform agnostic kind of script that you can add as a script tag, the way I've been experimenting with Sano and Outseta integrations. And I finally made Vite build this and I had to like look at my notes, because I had everything working with the Sano Outseta integration. And then I realized I was polluting the global JavaScript scope, which is not good, of course. I thought like Vite would like bundle it, but I didn't have the right settings. So in the end, I figured out how to do it and get that. Where did I write this? The EEFE. I knew what I wanted, and I knew that's what I wanted. I just didn't realize how to do it in the Vite config. And an IIFE is an immediately invoked function expression. So you kind of encapsulate everything inside of a function that calls itself, so that these variables are not polluting the global scope. So when I managed to fix that, like right before I got ill, came out of the illness, I was like, yes, let's make the Gatsby plugin a just like platform agnostic script. So you can head on over to Queen Ray on GitHub and find the Let It Snow script, and it's just like a one-click copy paste, and you can add it to anything, like your Webflow site, your Framer site, your Squarespace site, your React site, your whatever. And it will turn on snow for the season. So from December 1st to January 31st by default, it will snow on your site, but you can configure it though.
Very cool.
Yeah. So this morning I added it to the Outseta help pages because everyone's in the US, right? So I get up earlier. So when I was done, I was like, I just had to deploy it somewhere. So I put it on the Outseta help pages and I tweeted, I didn't ask for permission. Let's see how long it's gonna stay up. And then our designer woke up because he's on the East Coast, and he was like, this is so cool. And then he added it to the main page, the main like Webflow page, outseta.com. And we'll see when the guys, the engineers over in Hawaii and the West Coast, when they what they feel.
Yeah, like I on Outsider's website, I don't see it anymore, but on your personal website, I can see it snow.
Yeah, that's the Gatsby plugin. So because I'm still on Gatsby on that site.
Well, so what? It snows.
But it's the exact same thing, and it's built on top of Confetti, Canvas Confetti, which is like an amazing confetti library if you ever need any fun confetti on your page.
Nice.
Yeah. What about you? I felt like I'm just like, wow, because you're calm. I'm excited.
Yeah, as I said, like things are slowing down a little bit with like the team slowly signing off. But like the last couple of weeks have been pretty intense on the product side of things. We made tons of progress on a bunch of things. Most notably, probably we launched the conversion goals feature for our workflow builder. So you can now drop in conversion goal nodes and they start measuring from the time people cross that node, it starts measuring within a defined window. And then when something happens, it counts that as a conversion. So you can measure stuff like if people actually become paying customers after you send them an email and stuff like that, which is pretty cool. And I might have mentioned this before, but it's like I have a hate-hate relationship with that feature because it looks so simple.
It's a
Yeah,
hate-hate
it's a hate-hate.
relationship. I like
It's a
that.
hate-hate, yeah. Because it looks so simple from the outside, but during development and like during building this, like so many questions came up in terms of like how exactly is this supposed to work and like what are implications of this and that and so on. And even to the moment when we already published and like just were writing documentation about it, like we even discovered more edge cases that kind of don't have any good answers. So it's like, and I guess we talked about this, right? Like it's one of those features that yeah, it's just like have a weirdly defined scope and a weirdly defined behavior, and therefore me as someone who loves their programming logic and like true or false, it just doesn't fit into that. So but anyways, it's out there, it's launched. We have a couple.
So what did you land on? So anything anything that happens within the next 30 days is counted as a conversion, or like what did you?
So the version we deployed right now is, so I don't know, I feel like I have to take a step back, but like we launched what feels like the most basic version possible. And the way it works is you add a node to the workflow, and then once people travel through the workflow, they pass that node. We literally use the existing system of like keeping track if someone visited a node. So we basically every transition in the workflow we're recording anyways, and we're looking at that data to figure out who passed that conversion goal node. And then at the moment, we in real time, like as the node is loaded, we build a big query based on that information and then some other information that's basically the goal condition. So you specify one of our triggers, which essentially boil down to SQL queries, and we combine those two and then calculate like who started it and how many people did the other thing within that time frame. And we currently do this, as I said, like in real time as the page loads. I fully expect this to eventually be too slow to actually work. But for now, it's working, and it avoids a lot of the, well, not like there's still a lot of open questions, but it avoids a lot of the questions of like, if we were to store this information rather than query it in real time, there's like stuff like what happens if you store information about a conversion goal, but then edit the conversion goal or then edit the conversion window or the conversion condition. Like with stored information, do you throw that information away? Do you start from scratch? Do you keep it and then just live with it being based on like two different things? So there's a lot of weirdness in this. And yeah, so for now we just picked one way of doing it, and I fully expect us to eventually revisit this. but we've been pushing it, like pushing off launching this for so long. And with all the open questions, we figured it's probably better to just launch something and then
Mhm.
gather feedback and see what people say and see how useful it is. And then use that information to improve it or not improve it, or I don't know. Like, but like we were like without answers, and therefore just shipping it felt like the better solution rather than letting it simmer without ever getting answers. So yeah.
Yeah, because it is annoying with those kinds of things that it's not science, it's marketing.
Yeah, it's sort of, yeah. I mean, it's
Where
kind of
it's
is
like
science,
I
but
mean,
like,
you would never know, like, did somebody buy this thing because they saw an ad on the television yesterday? Like, these are old questions where
yeah,
it's like, of course, if you see an uptick in sales a day after, you had the Super Bowl ad, you know that the Super Bowl ad had an effect, but you can't say that it's all of them because some people might have bought the thing anyway, like, because
yeah,
it's just like part of their daily routine or whatever, or like not daily, but like their routine. So it's one of like attribution things where it's like yeah, you can't get it 100% right. The only thing you can say is that this person saw this message and then did this thing. We don't know if it's because they saw the message.
exactly. And like that message might be one of like 100 touch points, right? Like, and
Mhm,
yeah, exactly. You never know, and that also makes it so squishy, like a
mhm,
squishy sort of feature. Where you're like, is this actually anything useful? But then having it is better than not having it.
mhm.
Um,
And I think it's a little bit up to the
yeah,
company using it because they are in possession of the information about, are we running other types of like marketing initiatives now, are we what, like, they know more about that. So for some customers, this might be the only, if you send out an email about a new thing that nobody has ever heard about, like, they know that the
yeah,
attribution is coming from this email, um and they will have to like know that on their side. But if they're like if they're doing like tweets and Facebook ads um and
yeah,
emails, then obviously you can't say it's the email, but then they need to know what they're putting out there, like what they're doing. Like, that's not on you guys to be like, oh, it's definitely from this
yeah,
email.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Anyways, like that was one thing we did, launch that. What you also did over the last couple of weeks is work more in like not conversion goals, like workflow nodes, um, in preparation of our new company trigger feature that is coming up. So I think I mentioned this last episode that we launched relationship triggers for stuff like when a user joins a company or when a user leaves a company. And that, by definition, already provides information about both the user and the company. So for workflows that work on those events, you can now um, update the relationship, like add more properties to it, for example, update the company, like set a value, stuff like that. We improved the create event node to be associated, so you can choose if the event should be associated with the user, the company, or both. Um, and we redid all of our condition-based nodes, like the just condition node, the multiple split node where you can like branch in like multiple branches, or the repeat node for loops and stuff like that. We updated all of those to support not just user data as before, but also like event data, relationship data, company data. So that was a pretty big change in how stuff worked internally, and allows just so much more like flexibility and like unlocks a lot of things you couldn't do previously. So that was pretty exciting. And based upon that, we also refactored a lot of the internals of how conditions work on the front end. And this was once again a lesson in sometimes it's better to just like spend the time on a hard problem and properly solve the hard problem rather than trying to avoid it. Um, and I'm saying that because I think when we last worked on this condition engine type of thing for the front end, I think that was like 2 years ago, roughly. We were adding type support to it. And for that, we need to fetch information about what values you're looking at, like if it's a user property and so on. We need to load type information from the server. And that made the entire thing async because that information isn't readily available anymore. And back then, we had a choice between like making the core of the condition builder thing async, or making a deserialization step around that. That's basically turning the raw data into objects that the UI works with. That part async. And back then we thought we were smart and made the deserialization thing async, and it worked sort of, but it had all of that complexity sprinkled around it. And it was like a lot of code and a lot of work and a lot of complexity that just to avoid touching that inner part of the entire thing. And over the last couple of weeks, I mean, over the 2 years, basically, we realized that this wasn't great. Like it was a hassle to work with. It was annoying. It caused problems. It meant that like we had weird loading states. Like whenever we would show a condition or like one of our condition forms, like it wouldn't show for a moment until the information was loaded, then would pop in, because we didn't feel like didn't want to do like spinners for everything, because then you open the page and then everything is spinning and has animations, as we discussed. So we just didn't show it for a moment, and then like a second after, stuff would pop in, so that was annoying. And yeah, again, like also was annoying to work with. So over the last 2 weeks, we spent some time looking into this, refactoring, cleaning up, and eventually we cleaned it up enough that suddenly it became apparent that if we make the core async, the thing that we try to avoid, a lot of the complexity just goes away. Then yes, we have some complexity in like a couple key parts, but everything else, like now the complexity is like limited to 1 or 2 classes and not like sprinkled around the entire thing. So that was once again a lesson of
Great
don't
work.
don't try to avoid the hard task. Like just sit down and figure out the root of the problem rather than like trying to work around it.
But as I usually say, when you say that, is that sometimes you need to go that roundabout way to get to that solution. So it mightn't have worked if you try to force it that first time, because now you
yes,
got more
maybe.
experience with it and more. You realize there's only this little thing that
Maybe, but
maybe.
also like I vividly remember that we had a choice back then, like of 2 ways, right? Of
I guess
like
you're saying you made the
one
wrong
thing,
choice.
we made the wrong choice.
Yeah,
I
okay.
mean, sort of wrong choice. It worked, like it was fine, like it
Mhm.
wasn't the worst thing, but it wasn't easy to build back then. And looking at what we've got now after like cleaning it up and refactoring it, the other choice was probably would have probably been the better one, because ultimately it's less code. And yes, it took me 2 days of like scratching my head and like trying to chip away at it. Like basically we refactored it like one by one, like, and we try to actually refactor the core of it multiple times and always failed, because then some interdependencies weren't quite right. So we git reset hard everything and then started chipping away some more until we were able to just like get that core part changed. But ultimately, I think it was probably less work than coming up with the workaround and like making the workaround work. So I guess what I'm trying to say is like, just don't shy away of like fixing the hard problems or figuring out the hard problems, because
The
ultimately
life
that's
lesson
the thing you
there.
should do.
Life lesson. Not only in code, also in your.
Yes, you're probably right. But anyways, like all of that stuff was pretty exciting, and it was also pretty intense. Like I feel like we had like on multiple days we had multiple hour-long sessions of like pair programming between Leo and me, just to like figure out these things. So we had some intense days over the last couple of weeks, but pretty happy and excited about where we're at now, because stuff's a lot simpler and easier to work with, and also unlocks new opportunities that we didn't know how to fix previously, and that's mostly like user experience improvements for the workflows. For example, one thing that's kind of annoying these days is in our message editor, for example, we have autocompletes for the data available. So you can do like curly user dot email, and we'll just like list all the user properties and stuff like that. And that's easy for the user data because we know there's always a user. But with the events and stuff, that wasn't that easy because the events available depend on the triggers on the workflow. And to this day, we don't have like a connection between the triggers and then the actual node. So they would share like data about their data. And with all the refactoring we did and all the cleanup and the streamlining, we now have unlocked a path where we can figure out what data the triggers would provide, so then that any node and, for example, the messages would know what's available and therefore can improve the usability by just presenting the data available, or proactively warning you about missing data. For example, if you reference a company property, but the workflow isn't triggered by a company trigger that would provide that data, we can show a warning and stuff like that. So I'm pretty excited about that
Oh,
because
that's gonna
things
be
is going to
super
get a lot
slick.
nicer. Thumbs up.
No, but those are the
So,
hard
yeah.
problems. You know, now that I'm using multiple of these kinds of providers, like these are the hard problems.
Yeah, these are the hard
Yeah.
problems. And yeah, just like trying to make it easier. And yeah, as I said, like I feel like we can now see a path. Like we still need some work, and we still need to actually do it. But
But it's also one of those features where, like, I feel like the user, when it like if they get it, like they are like, of course. I mean, you have the data, like, of course, and like we know that, yeah. But like
yes.
most of our competitors don't have this, but like you probably haven't noticed because they would just send out wrong info. Like I am so I'm always like anxious when I set up anything that kind of like gets templated data, because there's, you know, I've done errors in the past, and all of us have gotten emails or messages where it's like, hello, $ something.
Right.
Like one of my first like application rejections from a summer job, and I'm never gonna forget, it was from Accenture, and it was like, their $ first name. No, it wasn't first name, it was their $ candy name. Like candidate's name. And so we were like, we were all candy names, because I mean a lot of us had applied
Yeah.
as students. But so the last time was now where I pushed payment reminders for our Wii users or our Wii customers, and through Bento. And you know, they have these hard problems as well. And I did manage to get like some type of preview, but it was hard to get like all of these event data to actually preview properly.
Yep.
But I did like all that I could, and when I was doing the previews, like it all looked fine, but I was still anxious to I pushed it to prod, and like I had a little Slack message too to show me when emails or was starting to go out and text messages were starting to go out. So I would jump into Bento and like actually look at the emails and messages that had been sent, and I was like, whew, they were correct. Like there was a spacing issue, but I fixed that. But it's always like nerve-wracking until it's actually gone to a user and you can actually like see the final result. So anything you can do to help with that is super helpful. But it's one of those things that
Yeah,
when you are super helpful, the customer is just like, oh, sure, like
obviously, right?
obviously you should do this, and it's like it's such a hard problem. But
Yeah,
luckily, if they use multiple tools, like they'll start getting a sense that, oh wow, this is really nice, even though they can't articulate it specifically. Like they'll get a feeling that, oh, like UserList is helping me in all of these areas, and less mistakes are made. And maybe they can't say that's why, but maybe they'll end up saying to their friends like, oh, we have way less like errors after starting to use UserList with our like messaging. Or
I
you know,
mean,
it's one of
you're
those like,
raising a good point. Like, it's probably one of those features, and it's probably efforts that like aren't immediately impacting the baseline revenue, right? There's probably other stuff we should be building for that, but still, like, plays a little bit to the foundations we keep talking about, right? Like, we're mostly doing this stuff to build it on solid foundations, so it doesn't like crumble the first time something doesn't quite work or something like that.
yeah. And I do
So, yeah.
feel like, and you are like at a higher, you're aiming for like a higher level customer, like a customer, larger customers, or like more professional customers. And many of those are professional marketers, and they've used different tools. And as I said, even if they can't like articulate it, they'll just like, wow, I'm doing like less things are going wrong. Like get
Right.
that feeling. And I think, yeah, it's hard to quantify. You can't attribute it
You can
in
can
your
add a
goal
conversion
conversion.
goal for it.
No.
Very true.
But I think it's one of
Yeah.
those things that gives that like premium feeling that is sometimes hard to
Yes, I
explain to somebody.
agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I've the premium feeling is probably the main aspect of it, because right now, like, those parts like feel like weirdly broken. Like, they're not necessarily broken, but like by just like not being as helpful, or like purposefully hiding stuff. For example, autocomplete in our message editor just does not show any event data. You can still do it, but it's pretending it's not possible. And that just like feels a little broken, and therefore like diminishes the quality a little bit. So yeah, we're trying
It's
to
like
make it feel good.
luxury brand feel, where you're like, you can't really explain it, but the bag is just like, it's nicer.
Yeah,
Like it just
we're trying
snaps
to
nicer, and it like just feels nicer, and it keeps nicer, and it like,
right. Yeah, we're at least trying to be that.
the luxury email provider.
I mean, we recently, a couple months ago, we changed. I'm not sure if it's on the website still. I think it's on the about page, where we say like it's boutique level support or something like that. I don't know where we put it exactly, but like trying to
Your luxury boutique hotel, is that what you're saying?
something like that. Yeah, like your luxury jewelry boutique or something like that, where you just like get in there and like get some hand-holding support, and then get like a super high quality product. That's the angle we're trying to do these days. Not sure if it's working, but at least that's what we're aspiring to be, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I think you're gonna get there, or I think you're already there, and I think it's gonna keep on compounding.
Just keep going.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think that's about it.
I think that's it.
Yeah,
it's a good length.
So I agree. Like, we could probably wrap up the episode, which, by the way, will be the last one for this year.
Happy Christmas or Merry
Happy
Christmas and a
holidays.
Happy New Year. That's how it goes.
Yeah, I think we'll be back second week of January, right? That at least that's the plan.
Wasn't it first?
No,
the 7th of January is probably the second week, because
the first full week, I guess.
Full week. And this is super interesting. Side note at the end here is that the American calendar system and the European calendar system do not agree on what is the first week.
Oh, interesting.
Hmm
One
So
more
week
thing they
one,
don't agree about.
I mean, so
I
if you
always
say
get
week,
confused, like with calendars and like first day of the week, because sometimes like
yeah,
European style is like Monday is the first day, and then on US base it's Sunday. And sometimes if I don't realize, I pick a Monday, which then turns out to be a Sunday.
I mean, date pickers that has a Sunday as their first day of the week, even when I know I picked the wrong thing, because it's just
Yep, it's
I
just
just
like confusing.
I just can't. Because what does it say here? The first week of the year is the week that contains the year's first Thursday in ESO representation.
Okay,
That's
so it's the
interesting.
second week then. Well,
Uh,
anyways, just watch your podcast app and look out for the next episode in January, I guess.
yes, and do some relaxation, have some fun over the holidays.
Exactly. And see you around the interwebs.
Absolutely. Bye bye.
Bye.